rolling. Welcome to episode 28 of the Long Toss here on the Walkoff. This is our Buster Posey edition, as he wore number 28. Good timing for a Buster Posey episode, as the Buster Posey rule seems to keep coming up recently. We'll get to that in a second here. Let's do a quick welcome to our panelists for this evening. We've got Scott Belford, who held down the fort for me last week in my absence. Scott, nice to see you. Are you a panelist or are you my co-host? What is the deal
here?
I'm
just so glad you're back running this ship, because it was way harder than I had anticipated.
You did great. All right. Joel, how are you?
Doing well. It's good to be back.
Movies coming along?
Yeah. And the TV show too. So it's a lot of hats, but stuff's going really, really well. Really well.
It's just good you're back, Joel. We missed talking baseball with you last week. Yeah.
It's true. I something was missing in my life. This lovely panel.
Speaking
all you
of
people out there.
Speaking of hats, Mr. Sean Lacomber, every time, this is the first time I've ever seen you in a Blue Jays hat. Every time I've ever seen you, you got your Orioles cap on. That's half the reason we invited you this week.
I like the Orioles hat until they weren't in the basement anymore. I like to support losers.
You're like a hipster about it.
Yeah.
Anti-bandwagon.
The world's oldest hipster.
All right, let's talk about a real Orioles fan then. Jack, from Daily Dose of Baseball. Nice to see you once again. How you doing? You must be riding high now with these Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I'm doing great, and I've been absolutely loving watching my hometown team play so well. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that we'd be over 500 first and foremost, and then in a wild card race. That's unheard of for us Baltimore Orioles fans. So it's amazing.
Well, we'll enjoy the ride you're on this year too, but starting next year we're going to start hating you. So, Jen, I see a crutch behind you. Do you want to tell us the story that comes along with that crutch?
I very stupidly tripped over a weight at the gym, and the workout hadn't even begun yet, and I really didn't think anything was wrong, and I did the workout and hit some personal bests. But I broke a toe on one foot and sprained the other ankle. So was in pretty bad pain earlier. Hence, I dug out my crutches from years ago. I'm feeling much better at the moment. So
you've just got all sorts of pain meds flowing through your body, hey?
This will be an interesting show.
Yeah, this will be one for highlights of Jen, that's for sure.
I guess those old personal bests were your limit.
Highlights or lowlights, depending on how you look at it.
Exactly. All right, well, we got lots to talk about today. We got Yankees tears, how sweet they taste, Blue Jays bullpen having a resurgence. We're going to do an early grade of Jays. No, this is a tongue twister. Jays deadline trades. We got Pop, White, Bass, and Merrifield. Is it Bass or Bass? It's Bass, right?
Bass.
Fish.
Like the fish.
Go to Anaheim.
All right, and then with Yankees firmly in first place of the AL East. Wait, this sentence doesn't make sense. Scott, did you write this note for me? With Yankees still firmly in place of AL East, Yankees fans are calling for Aaron Boone's head. Warranted or overreaction? That sentence actually did make sense. I just can't read it. Schneider, do or die season for him. Pseudo hot seat. Should the Jays be eyeing first place in the AL East or just continue to focus on a wild card spot? This answer is probably different than maybe we would have said about a month ago, but the times they are changing. We're going to dump on Apple TV broadcasts. We're going to talk Albert Pujols. This kid can hit. 7 home runs in his last 14 games. Yeah, he might be good. He's got a shot at 700 this year. So we'll talk that. We'll talk White Sox. We'll talk Baltimore stinking Orioles. We got a lot to get to. But last, before we do, let's just talk about our quick sponsor. Today's episode and every episode of The Long Toss brought to you by Team Oh My. Out hustle my yesterday. Go to teamohmy.com. we are partnering with Team Oh My to produce some Bad Taco merchandise. We have the Bad Taco design. This is the contest win, so anybody in the Zoom, you guys can't see it right now, but everybody watching on YouTube, you can see it. Jen wants socks with this logo on it. I can't disagree. These would be nice gym socks, especially if you've got casts on both your ankles. Jen dealing with her own bad taco currently, so she kind of maybe reverse jinxed herself into it. But there you go. TeamOhmy.com. Out hustle your yesterday today. Patreon, we'll thank those guys as well. Those guys and gals. Patreon.com/the Walkoff Podcast. The list is growing. It is a mouthful. David, Abraham, Michael, Sarah, John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, Ian, Dunedin, Bob, John, Wyatt, and now Patrick. We have lots of stuff going on at Patreon. Also want to quickly thank, we have had some big contributions from people who aren't in our Patreon but are supporting us in our fundraising efforts to get brand new computers here so we can do more content, more like quality of content feels like generous. I don't know if the quality is actually going to go up or not, but the quantity can. I can commit to that. So the goal is almost $1,500, and we are over $900 in contributions now towards that. So big thanks to everybody there. We are 60% of the way. Maybe have new content in time for a playoff push. We'll see. Okay, let's start with this Yankees series. Blue Jays took 3 out of 4. It felt good, Scott. How happy are you with this team? Vibes were a little lower when we recorded our episode on Friday.
Man, what a turnaround. It is so crazy to me to think about how much this was like a light switch of a flip. You know, like look back on that 7th inning against the Orioles in game 3 of that series, and it's tied at 2, and like everyone's just very nervous about being swept by the Orioles, and then they pull out 6 runs or whatever it was in the 7th inning there, and it just was like all of a sudden the boys were back. The confidence was there. Everyone seemed to be hitting again. No one was running into outs. It was crazy. Completely different team. And just watching the Yankees fans lose their mind. Like, I don't know if any of you caught the beginning of the game today where, what was it? They were giving a speech about
It was Paul O'Neill's number retirement.
Paul O'Neill Day. Yeah, Paul O'Neill and getting his number up on the left field or the right field wall there, and like all the ceremony. But anytime that Brian Cashman or Aaron Boone was brought up, the crowd would boo them during this fucking ceremony. What a beautiful time to be alive.
Oh man.
A lot of first place in, winning the game booing.
Yeah.
Winning the game, you're in first, boo. There's a lot of booing.
Yeah, and Yankees
8 games up on the division.
And Yankees fans can't even suspend what's happening in the moment to just okay, Paul O'Neill, let's just enjoy this. Let's just take this in. Let's forget about where we are as a team today. Bigger picture, Paul O'Neill and what he brought, blah, blah, blah. Yankees fans are so myopic that they're just like, boo, like today, what's happening today, boo. Like, you're in first place, you're up by 8 games, you're really in you're fine. You're going to be fine. As long as you're playing well by the end of the season, you're going to be fine.
As long as they're playing 500 ball by the end of the year, they're going to be fine. But literally nothing can please a Yankees fan. I'm sorry. It has to be said. Nothing can.
Well,
Which is what makes it even better that Joey Gallo is performing so well with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Is he playing well now with the Dodgers?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, he is.
He had a triple and a base hit in today's. I'm watching it right now. But, yeah. It's just funny in Paul O'Neill's day that he said stuff like, this is the greatest fan base to play in front of. Like all these lines.
He was very specific, though,
in that
Joel.
Game, they boo the team that they're the greatest fan base of.
He was very specific. He said they're the greatest fans to win in front of. He never said the greatest fans to win in front of. Yeah.
And he's right. He's right about that. I mean, if you watch the Jays play the Yankees can be down 6-2 in the 9th inning, get 1 base hit over a second baseman's head, and be going nuts already. They're down 4 runs. And they're going. So they are, when things are, all they need is a hit. If you give a Yankees fans are just like little pigs. You just give them like a little bit of food and they eat it. You just got to give them the piggy a little food. Like all they need is one base hit to go crazy. One base hit, Yankees fans go crazy. And they're supposed to be like the smartest, the savviest. Like, what a load of bullshit. The dumbest people alive. You give them one base hit and they go bananas. But if he strikes out, boo! It doesn't matter who it is. They were booing Judge.
They were booing Judge.
They were booing Judge.
I know.
Like, they're crazy people.
The season where like 4 sections of the outfield threw stuff at ball players in a win.
Disgusting.
They've become a parody of themselves, right? Like, that's really what it is at this point. Like, whatever stereotypes exist of New York Yankees fans or just New York sports fans in general, they're embodied it.
They're reaffirming
and
it.
have, put it up on a pedestal, right? We aspire to surpass this.
Booing has never made a player play better, ever.
Right.
In the history of sports.
So are these Yankees catchable? Let's just jump right ahead to this. They are sliding, unfortunately. Until 4 days ago, the Jays were also sliding. So we weren't able to make up as much ground as we possibly could have. Should this Blue Jays team be eyeing first place in the AL East in a first-round bye, or are we getting ahead of ourselves?
As long as the Yankees are playing poorly, then absolutely they should be eyeing the division. That being said, they had, they obviously took 3 out of 4 and could have won today. Like, probably should have won today. Can that continue? Can what we've seen out of them, putting the bat on the ball, moving the runner over, right? Can those sorts of things continue? That's what we need to see.
I mean, if history is showing anything, I think that what's going to happen is the Jays will win another 4 of the 5 games. That'll make them 8-2. And then we all got to hold our breath and see when that fucking shoe falls, because this team
when we get swept by the Pirates and the Cubs.
I know. Oh my God. And I'm going to be at that Pittsburgh series. And I picked it because I was like, PNC Park's amazing. And I want to see the Jays win, because right now I'm 1-5 in this year's, like, when I go to games. I'm worried that I shouldn't even go, like, just is this me?
Oh, so this team playing better lately, but this is the argument against punting at the trade deadline, right? This is why going out and the small moves that we did make, because the Yankees were running away with it, and let's save all of our bullets for next year, right? Like, this is why you can't do that. All right, we did get a couple pieces, though. We got Whit Merrifield, Mitch White, Anthony Bass, and Zach Pop. So let's have a look at these guys, because as Scott has nicely put in the show notes, the Jays bullpen is second best in the AL since July. So despite no major pitching moves, problem solved, right? Pitching is all good now?
Gucci's in the bullpen now, though.
Oh, that's what has fixed our bullpen. We've added
no,
lefty.
No, watch out. He's there now.
Well, he looked good-ish in his first outing. We'll talk Yusei Kikuchi into the bullpen in a second here. But let's just have a look at let's start with Whit Merrifield. This is the lone non-pitching arm that we brought in. So 12 games with the Toronto Blue Jays. Batting average 237, on base percentage around 300, slugging 237. None of these numbers are setting your hair on fire, but defensively, he's out there. I feel like it passes the eyeball test when he's in the game. He's doing enough on the base paths. I was texting Scott earlier today when we had the bases loaded against the Yankees, and Jackie Bradley Jr. came up instead of Bradley Zimmer. And I know that Jackie Bradley Jr. isn't great and isn't having a great season by any account, but I felt so much better with him coming to the plate than I did with Bradley Zimmer. Yeah, your chances doubled. Like, I just feel like anytime Zimmer came up, it was like, well, this is either an out or a double play. Like it's 1 or 2 outs. How many are we getting here? So I feel like Jackie Bradley Jr., I'm happy with that move. Whit Merrifield, how's everybody else feeling about Mr. Whit Merrifield?
My breakdown of pretty much every single player is just one solid breakdown. I see we got 5 players that we can put in to get game time. It's not the sexiest move. It's not a big star. It's not a big acquisition. It gets chewed apart. But this year was an oversell, like an overspend year for a lot of teams. Like this was a market where teams were willing to overspend. And in that year, like I want some big star to come and swoop in and take us right to first place. But at the same time, all 5 of these players have contributed in some way, shape, or form. And I think getting that is almost in a way like getting a superstar.
Augmenting the pitching like they did has actually worked out far better than I was expecting. Anthony Bass has been stellar whenever they've brought him into the game. He seems to lengthen that back end of the bullpen. Zach Pop has impressed me. I mean, we don't have a lot of guys who throw 98, 99 other than Jordan Romano, so it's nice to have another power arm back there. His slider's really deadly. I think we're seeing Zach Pop contribute right now, but I think the potential, being that he's under contract and under team control until I think it's 2026, but it might be 2025. But either way, Zach Pop is in this fold long term, and I think that it's really going to be a great move. And as for White, like he's doing everything we want him to do. So yeah.
We have him till 2026 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only concern is, as long as there are no further injuries to this starting rotation, right? Yeah. If anything happens to any one of the 5, who is stepping into that role? It's probably Kikuchi coming back into the role, I would imagine, because he's stretched out for that, right? And has done it. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to see that happening, I don't think. So that part still feels very perilous to me, that they did not add a legitimate starter on top of adding Mitch White.
Yes. It's weird we have more outfielders than starting pitchers.
Yes.
I think it's 6-4 is the count right now.
Merrifield has looked serviceable. His role has completely changed, right? Since he was with the Royals. He's used to being in the lineup every single day, and he isn't anymore. He's been asked to play center field, second base, right field, I believe. So his role is completely different with the Blue Jays than it was with the Royals. And I would imagine there's a bit of an adjustment as well that needs to take place. And when you're used to playing every day and then you're not, it doesn't surprise me that his numbers are not great.
And his numbers weren't great playing every day.
This is
with
true.
The Royals either. So, yeah.
Right. He wasn't having a great season with the Royals anyway. He was just running for depth,
spot,
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talks about analytics. I'd like to see trade deadline analytics of I think we didn't do enough. If you look at the Yankees, they brought in Montas. He hasn't, a piece that you pay a premium for that didn't work out, to give up a couple of prospects. Like the Yankees got an A+ for what they did on trade deadline day. It
does not look like an A+. That is for sure in hindsight.
Because usually on paper, what you don't usually get what you see on paper.
It is. Yeah, you just do it to click it, but then when it blows up, they're still booing you.
All right, let's talk John Schneider and his Sean. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but you're quite choppy right now. So if I'm cutting you off, I'm sorry for that. John Schneider hot seat rest of the way. This Blue Jays team needs to make the playoffs or Schneider's gone, right? We can start with that as an agreeing point for a jumping off part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Probably.
If they don't make the playoffs, they clean
Yeah.
house. I feel like, how do they not?
Okay. So
They need an AJ Hinch as their manager. I feel like if they had AJ Hinch, they'd be a 95+ win team.
Really?
I would go that far, yeah, because you see what he did with the Astros in 2015. I mean, that's a team that wasn't expected to make the playoffs. They had minimal, like, big pieces. I mean, Carlos Correa, Rookie of the Year, but that was their main big piece other than Jose Altuve. If they had AJ Hinch, I feel like they could be a top of the AL. I would go that far.
bring in Hinch, bring in Correa, bring in the whole bandwagon.
Bring in the whole hospital.
I want Correa for myself, though. That's my problem.
All right. So with John Schneider being on the hot seat, is there any sympathy for him with the way this roster is constructed? I just continue to see a team that is hard to schedule a lineup for. Jen?
If there's sympathy for him with regards to lineup construction or roster construction, then there has to have been sympathy for Montoyo.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Right? I don't know if the fan base or how much of the fan base had sympathy for Montoyo at the end there. I got the feeling that he had very much overstayed his welcome for an awful lot of fans, rightly or wrongly. And so, Schneider at the bare minimum, when he took over the team, they had a very soft schedule. And, they may or may not have won that many games under Montoyo anyways during that stretch. And Schneider has had the benefit of whoever was, has been at it at the deadline, whereas Montoyo did not have those pieces to try to play with. Right. So I don't know that I have sympathy. I think that's the wrong word, right? The lineup, the roster is what it is. That rests solely on the front office. And it's up to the coaches and the manager to do what they can. I think there's a lot of holes that still need to be addressed. But if Schneider's on the hot seat, is P. Walker on the hot seat? And I'm sorry, his name is just escaping me right now, the hitting coach.
Guillermo Martinez.
Thank you. Is he also on the hot seat?
I mean, personally, I think that if they miss the playoffs, they're all gone. I mean, it doesn't make sense to fire Charlie Montoyo, whose whole staff is still there, put John Schneider in charge, and then if they lose, to just keep rolling out with the same coaching staff. Like, they talk so much about collaboration and how this is all a team effort when it comes to the decisions that they make for the lineup, for the field, for who's coming out of the bullpen. So if that is the truth, which I feel like it is, then to just fire Charlie and just go with the rest of the coaching staff, and if they still don't pull it off, to send them back out there in 2023, it's insanity.
If they make the playoffs, if they make the wild card, but have a quick exit from the playoffs, same thing.
If it's a wild card series, I would say probably.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if my internet's bad. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
You're good.
much better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Montoya was only let go because of his messaging to the media. I think his inability to sort of paint a rosy picture like Schneider can, like, we're sticking with him, he's playing good, there's a couple things we like, et cetera, right? Like, Montoya's messaging was brutal. His inability to, after a starter has a bad start, have his starters back. That's the only reason he was fired, is because the PR was brutal for him, right? He would step out after a guy had a bad start and say he had a bad start, he looked really bad. Will he make his next start, Charlie? We don't know. So that's the only reason he was let go. And yeah, so these other guys, Schneider, I don't think that they're like, Schneider is the next guy. He wasn't the guy in waiting, right? It was just like, this is the staff. Montoyo can't handle the media. He's got to go, and then we'll reevaluate at the end of the year.
And the team needed a real shock, like there was something going on, and I don't know if moving on from Montoya was necessarily the answer, but it is an answer, and it's happening in New York right now. Like, you can tell all the fans want to blame somebody. Aaron Boone's the easy one to blame, and despite the fact that they're 8 games up on the AL East division, the fans aren't happy, and so sometimes that's just the easiest move to do. I know in the chat right now here, Dulcimer has just brought up a point. He said, I don't like the hitting coaches at all. Too analytics driven, need an old school hitting coach to keep things simple. But if you break that down even further, that would entail a whole new approach when it comes to the coaching staff, right? So maybe if this doesn't work out and they do make the wild card and then go out early and they decide that they're going to change the whole approach, but who knows, like, this front office is very analytically driven anyways. This might not be something that ever we even see happen.
To that point, Scott, and then Joel, I'll let you jump in here, but to that point, the idea of, and let's just say the Blue Jays miss the playoffs and Schneider's out, and it is a clearing the house situation. That is a very large move to just eliminate 40 coaching staff members on a team that is supposed to be at like the start of their competitive window. I'm just a little bit nervous of the idea of like the chemistry, and I mean, it could be a good impact, but it could be you're bringing a lot of new pieces to a team. Like, it just feels like that's a move that should be made after year 7 and things have gotten stagnant. And now we need to, so it just concerns me a little bit that might be even on the table to clear house, eliminate all of the staff and start from scratch when this is a team of 23-year-olds on the come up. Like, I think there might be some value to familiarity, even if it is less than stellar. I don't know.
So, Adam, I will let you talk here, Joel, in a second. I'm just bringing up a point from the YouTube chat that just fits in here really well. And it's Jeff Peterson says, bring Tito in as coach. And I mean, this front office does have ties to Terry Francona, right? I mean, he's managing Cleveland right now. I don't know how you would manage to pull that off unless I don't know what Francona's contract's looking like, or if it's up at, like, Cleveland's doing so well right now. Why would they make a change? And why would you allow that to happen? But it's a good point, though, Adam, about do you want to shake things up that much? I think if there is a major shakeup, maybe you just replace the manager, let him choose a few new guys, keep the most of the analytics department together, and shake up this roster.
That feels to me like a more level-headed approach that maybe suits this front office. Again, if we're talking the New York Yankees, if the Yankees miss the playoffs after all this, then like that's an older team, maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe that works better for them. Boone's gone, everybody's gone. Like a total retooling of that locker room atmosphere. But I don't know. It just seems very drastic to do with a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds. And there's a lot of unforeseen consequences once you start meddling at that level. But Joel, it's your turn, please.
Okay, so from the coaching standpoint, like, Montoya was very solid in his lineup construction, how he did 1 through 4. It's like, these guys are these guys. They are the number. They are the spot that they hit in the lineup. And then now we've seen a much more fluid lineup construction, and we'll get a better idea of maybe what the better approach was at the end of the season. So we're kind of seeing different styles being at least put onto the roster, but like to completely think that you can just change the coaching staff. Like, if you go back and you look at the changes the Yankees made, like, the Yankees are doing not so great, but they're still 10 up in first place, right? So they're having a pretty solid season. They shifted Glaber over to second base. Like, we got to think about doing that with Bo. We got to think about maybe moving Bo over to second base, let him worry about offense, take a little bit of that defensive, like, take a little bit of that throw away from him. We know he can probably make it in the second base position. When he's deep and rushed at shortstop, you see some ugly throws. So is that a smart move? Does that make him a better player, right? It's those kind of moves, like signing Rizzo. and that type of move that the Yankees did. Like when I look at the future and seeing that shift is going away, they're going to take the shift away. So what type of commodity are lefty bats going to become when you're adding 20 points to their batting average, when you're adding that much more value to those hitters across the league, and you realize we didn't really pick up any. We're kind of got a real weakness for that spot. When you look at the weakness of our lineup and the ability of a right-handed pitcher to go up and go, most of these guys on any given night have the same approach to try to pull a ball. We locate that slider low and away, and the Jays are going to put 2 or 3 runs up. And they're not going to hit a home run, right? Like it's a very limited approach to 75% of the starters that you're going to face. They need 2 pitches. They need a fastball and they need a slider, and that'll about do it. So you need a switch hitter. You need a lefty in the core of that lineup. We talked about how important Freddie Freeman would have been, but think about a season with Freddie Freeman now, right? And having that consistent lefty bat who makes that pitcher throw a different pitch, get out of that rhythm of just fastball away, slider away, fastball away. I throw 95 pitches all in one location. You have to make him moving around the zone. So I feel like, we can make coaching changes, but you got to look at massive moves, even when you're in contention. Yankees made the playoffs last year. Massive changes to try to take that next step. And I think we have to do probably the same thing.
I will say, in regards to the Yankees real quick, because this was mentioned before, if the Yankees don't win this division, because Yankees fans and baseball fans alike have all disliked Aaron Boone. I don't think he's a great manager, me personally, but I think he's been carried year after year by incredible rosters. I think if the Yankees don't win this division, someone's going to have to take the blame. And of course, it's going to be the manager. Aaron Boone's going to be gone after this year. And I think that because someone mentioned Terry Francona, his contract's up after the season with Cleveland, but he's had major health problems over the last few years. So I don't even know if he's going to continue managing. But if so, the Blue Jays should look at Terry Francona as their next manager. I think he'd be an excellent manager for them.
All right. Anything we also want to add to John Schneider before we move on this roster construction? I just continue to be frustrated by the use of the DH and the corner that we've painted ourselves into with the role George Springer requires at DH, the role that Alejandro Kirk requires in DH, giving other guys days off too. Like, rosters are set to expand in a week and a half. Our best option for a weapon to bring up is also a catcher. Like, I don't know how we are going to get Gabriel Moreno in this lineup while having Kirk DH half the time, Springer DHing half the time. Like,
he'll have to be a bench bat. There's no other options.
Maybe they don't call up Moreno. Like, who knows, right? Maybe they actually go with somebody else who they can fit into the lineup a little bit more. But this is sort of, what I was saying back at the trade. Now, I don't know that they could have gotten anything with Kirk. Like, I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
But his trade value would never have been higher than at that time, right? And it would have been interesting because then that would have freed up that space as you're talking about. And unfortunately, George Springer, it's one thing after another at this point. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really tricky. It's going to be really, really difficult for them, I think, to manage his time on the field between now and the playoffs, right? Like that does really hinder how the lineup that they can put out there.
And what would you rather see from the DH position? Because I've honestly never had that frustration. I've always just felt like, well, okay, we have the DH spot, and today Springer's filling it, tomorrow Kirk's filling it. I don't have a problem with that. Like maybe that's just me, but I don't have a problem with that.
I think the difficulty is if the DH position is the only way to get Springer into the lineup, then you're automatically eliminating somebody else, right? Versus it being a bit more of a revolving door that you want it to be.
It's just frustrating to watch Alejandro Kirk sit out sometimes because the DH spot is filled when Alejandro is obviously putting up the best numbers of besides maybe Lourdes Gurriel Jr. or anyone on this team right now. So it's a little frustrating to watch them not put out the best lineup every single time because they're a little bit handcuffed.
I guess it's because I look at Kirk and I think that guy needs a day off.
Which it's
So I guess I never look at Kirk and say, like, when I see Kirk on the bench, I'm like, he probably needed a break. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, like, I wish he was in the lineup. I'm like, he's got to be hurting, like, to be crouched, to be that top heavy and crouched. Do you have any idea how hard that is on your knees?
Yeah.
I both agree with you and think this is exactly the point, though, is that it sure would be nice to not have someone who was 21 years old who needed a day off 3 times a week. I don't know. We could beat that dead horse some more if we want, but let's pivot from that to another dead horse. Apple TV broadcasts.
Worst thing ever.
Are they the worst thing ever? Is this good for baseball? Is this bad for baseball? Jack, let's start with you because you're already shaking your head.
So me personally, I don't have Apple Plus. I don't have Apple TV. So whenever I see the broadcasts, they're always from me watching the breakdowns or the game recaps on YouTube. The announcers.
Hold on.
It sounds like
stop. That is some gross Inception level, like YouTube's version of the Apple's version of the.
I know. I'm realizing how convoluted that sounded.
If you could chop that up into like a TikTok, it'd be the perfect trifecta. Right.
I haven't seen any Harrison Ford movies, but I did see his roast. And
all right, Jack. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It was accurate. From what I gathered from watching those 8-minute videos of those Apple TV broadcasts, it's very boring, first and foremost. The announcers, they're not the home or away announcers of those teams. So it's like there's announcers that are speaking that probably haven't watched those teams at all. And they're just there because most likely they have to be. And it's just boring. I'm not engaged when watching them. I usually turn the volume off whenever I see the Apple logo in the bottom right. I'm like, oh god, okay, turn the volume off, just watch the game. Because also people don't always get to watch their home team if that's on Apple TV that one time, because if you don't have it, you can't watch the game when it's happening. So it's not good for baseball if people aren't able to watch it and you have to pay money to watch it, which I don't think anybody wants to do. And the announcers are very boring. I feel like if you brought in the current Dodgers commentator who took over after Vince Scully did, I feel like if he did it every time, I feel like people would pay actual money to watch him because he's a great announcer and that would be more engaging. But with the current announcers now, they're not engaging. They don't sound like they know what they're talking about. And I think I speak for everyone. I say it's just not interesting. It doesn't interest me at all. I mean, the Peacock games are much better. And I watched a few of them because that had the White Sox announcer. I don't know his name. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about though. And he's awesome. I love him. But it's not engaging.
They paid,
go ahead,
right.
John.
They paid $85 million to have a game of the week, right? So it's that's really, it doesn't matter. Like you see it in golf too, where what advertisers realize that, like, if I'm throwing money at cable, then I'm not, everybody PBRs it. No one watches the ads. So if you watch a golf broadcast now, they'll have golf 3/4 of the screen and then the audio and the video of the ad playing next to it during live golf. And that's sort of what baseball's struggling with now, is like moving away from cable. And Apple TV, if you watch it, you have to watch it live, right? So you can't put the genie back in the bottle with cable and take away people's ability to fast forward through commercials. So this is the new thing of, you sell a game of the week to a streaming service. Nobody can get it on their local provider. No one can skip the ads, right? And that's really what it's all about, is like not being able to skip the ads.
Can I tell you my biggest, just speaking of like ad breaks. Sorry, Scott, I just want to get this out while it's on my head. Watching it on Apple TV, there still is the ad breaks, like between the innings, but they don't show ads. So you just
just play that awesome music.
Yeah, you just get the music and like that stupid visual loop.
But they'll have it fixed. They'll have it fixed for next year. Like, it's only in Canada that they don't have the ads.
Oh, is that a thing? They have ads in the US.
So it's only about, it's about making us watch ads, right? That's what's
okay. I thought that was the subscription based model where it's like, no, we're gonna get the $8 a
subscription
month
base.
to
Like that's
compensate.
Apple pays $85 million and they're hoping to get that back in subscriptions. But from, you know, the advertiser's perspective, where that 85 million comes from, it comes from advertisers that are like, and it also allows them to in the future have algorithm stuff, right? Where like now you're watching a Blue Jays game and now you have to watch 2 minutes of targeted ads based on your search history. So that's the model we're heading towards.
Fun. Fun.
So I just
ahead,
want to
Scott.
jump in real quick here, unless you got more stuff to shit on Apple TV, Adam, because I want to take the side here real quick.
I just thought Sean's point about golf and having the like minimized ads in the corner just kind of happening during the broadcast. I think that would be a solution to the length of baseball games too. I mean, we talked about this in the off season, the idea of shortening the time between innings, right? But the argument against that is that's when all the ad revenue happens, right? But like if you put a cap on a 3-minute transfer between the top and bottom halves of the innings, right? Tell those guys, hustle on out there. Come on. I mean, you could shave 45 minutes off your game right there, but that's 45 minutes worth of ad revenue. But if we take the golf approach and we're just going to be running ads the entire time throughout, I don't know. Maybe that's a solution. But.
Well, you could even pop in a 15-second ad almost during play, like between pitches. If you really wanted to, right? Like there's a lot of ways of using that little corner space to show an ad during the game, like during actual play. Forget in between innings.
Or between outs. Or between outs, because there's a 20-second time. There's a 20-second timer between outs. You could do that too.
Yeah, but I mean, you sell a 15-second space, right?
Yep.
And there you go. I don't know if this is going to change next year. My understanding is that the Apple TV broadcasts, you need to create an account, but you don't have to you don't have to pay money. You can watch those games now. So I did try to create an account and I don't know what went on. It wouldn't allow me to. So that didn't work for me, but apparently that's what everybody has done. And that's how everybody's watching it. They're not paying that subscription fee.
Okay.
I mean, for my purposes, I find them boring as well in terms of who's speaking, because they clearly don't really know the team. Sometimes I don't mind hearing a bit of a different voice though.
Yeah.
Right? Like personally, even if they're not great, it's nice to, you know, like I said, I've said this in the past, watching the games on Sportsnet, you're kind of hearing the same stories about the same players repeatedly, you know, over the course of say 2 days. And it is kind of nice sometimes to just hear somebody different. Even if they're kind of reading off a set of game notes, you might pick up something a little bit different than what you would just watching this, you know, or hearing the same two people over and over and over and over again. So I don't mind them. And it's a handful of games a season.
Yeah, like 2 per team type of thing, you know.
Yeah,
like it's not.
That's what the thing that scares me is the future of Wednesday night baseball, Thursday night baseball, Friday night baseball. It's Thursday night Amazon Prime baseball. It's Friday night Apple TV baseball. It's Sunday afternoon Disney Plus baseball. So like,
don't forget ESPN.
So Sportsnet, you get Monday, Tuesday, and then everything else you got to have a premium.
And if ESPN picks up a Sunday night baseball game that is the Blue Jays, Rogers is still allowed to air that because we're in a different country, so they allow that to happen. But like, that's why this is new to us, right? It's not necessarily new to American audiences. They're used to like losing their local broadcast on Sunday nights. But like, so for us, like that's what I worry about is a future where 3 days a week, we don't get to watch it.
I don't think it'll get to that extreme, but I think it will get to the extreme of like maybe like twice a week, which honestly, I feel like that's a little bit too much for people that maybe don't have, you know, maybe a device to watch that on. Maybe they might have cable, but not, you know, they might not have like much prowess with like devices, which in 2022 kind of unheard of. But I just think it's, even right now, I think it's too much, honestly. And it's not that much at all. I just think it's too much anyway.
Baseball has always been the slowest sport to evolve in whatever the next thing in entertainment is. They're always a little bit of a step behind. And I'm not going to sit here and like completely defend the Apple broadcast, but they are doing stuff that other broadcasts aren't doing. They're doing some cool features. The way they show some of the analytics stuff in a way that's very presentable to people who maybe aren't the biggest baseball nerd on the planet. You know, like there's lots of people out there who enjoy baseball and only watch 40 games a year. You know, like I know all of us here are probably watching way more than most people would ever watch in a baseball season. So there's a few, like YouTube, people hated these YouTube broadcasts. And now one of the things they allowed Canada to do and Sportsnet to do is to simulcast it. And maybe that is part of the solution when it comes to the streaming sites and logging in and signing on and all of this stuff. Like if they can still get their advertising in and use Sportsnet as a place a vehicle to do it, I think there's potential here to really change the way baseball is watched. And you can tell that it's really targeted at a younger demographic. I mean, my God, the amount they talked about hair blew me away. But
it's also like, to me, I'm the most cynical guy on the planet, but I look at that as all bullshit. That's all bullshit. It's like the idea that they're trying to, it's youthful, keep it fun. It's about a new audience. It has nothing to do with a new audience. It's an $85 million deal with Apple TV, and they're going to look to carve more of those deals out with other people, right? Has nothing to do from a base. It's like the live golfers. Like, I'm trying to grow the game, like, but we knew the numbers, so we knew they were full of shit. Right? So like, so we knew live golfers were full of shit when they played this game. But we don't quite know the numbers with Major League Baseball. So we like, maybe it is about growing the game and finding a different audience that only consumes things online and hasn't had cable ever. Like nothing to do with that. All cash.
I do think that is all cash is the big motivator. But again, the optimist in me wants to agree with Scott and look through this with rose-colored glasses. I think I botched that metaphor. I want to kick this cat into some positivity and acknowledge the fact that like this is there are going to be growing pains with the new services, but I do think, I mean, Scott pointed out the Apple has some interesting new visual graphics. Like I know they display the like hit probability percentage and it adjusts like on a per pitch basis. I think all those numbers are bullshit, but it's like a interesting, cool little thing if you want to read into that. I don't know if that's going to be here 5 years from now, but I do think that like more competition in the broadcast field, you know, whether it is Amazon or DAZN or Apple or YouTube, whatever the case may be, like everybody's going to come and they're going to bring their own flair to try and set themselves apart, right? They're going to go, look, we got Derek Jeter and A-Rod every Friday night doing the Amazon games or whatever the case may be, right? And people are going to tune in for that. And
hey, you as a customer, all you need to enjoy all this product is 9 subscriptions.
Okay, let me push back on that a little bit because that's going to be for everything anyways. So everyone's already going to have them. Right? Yeah. Like we are only a couple years away from
Cable does have it
all
too,
of us having Apple and YouTube Premium and Amazon Prime anyways. I never had Amazon Prime a couple years ago. Now I do because my wife likes to order giblets for her Crocs and she needs them by work tomorrow, right? So here we look. This
I didn't think you were going Croc giblet with that.
Look,
I didn't think I was going that direction either.
I texted Scott the other day. I said, I have the coolest thing that I want to show on Long Toss this week. And you guys will not believe this, but I have little T-Rex chopsticks. So this is my thing that I wanted to show off. So thank you to Jeff Bezos for that. And you thought that was cool. Well, check this out. This is a shark set of chopsticks as well. So I could eat my chips and keep my fingers clean during ball games. I'm thrilled, guys.
That's actually, I really like the shark one.
Very cool.
Actually,
I do too.
Very cool. All right. So my point being, like, yeah, we're going to need 9 subscriptions to watch every Blue Jays game 6 years from now, but we're probably going to have them anyways.
Yeah. No, you're right.
We need bad taco chopsticks.
We do need some bad taco chopsticks. Great.
If there's one subscription I don't think anyone will have on a side note,
just-
it's YouTube Premium. I don't know anyone who actually has YouTube Premium.
Yeah, because it's just you just skip the ads, right? You got all the
But
content.
literally,
anyways.
I also
Yeah,
wanted
they're like 2 5-second ads that if you have even if you have ADD like I do, attention deficit disorder, it doesn't take that long to sit through that. You can twiddle your thumbs and be like, "Oh, it's done. Wonderful."
But I think that's the model. That's what's going to be different about this is it'll require 9 subscriptions, and it will also require you to watch the ads during the live broadcast. So
I did ask a well-meaning question on Twitter, which was strictly, does anybody have the numbers on these Apple TV broadcasts? And I was just curious, have numbers been presented as to how many people are actually tuning into these broadcasts? Unfortunately, everybody who replied to me just told me they hated the broadcasts.
Right.
And were giving me random numbers like there's 0% chance I will watch or whatever, 0% chance I will like it. No one answered my question, which fine, whatever. Twitter is a great place to complain about anything and everything. However, the thing is that these people are watching, right? The people are saying that they hate it, but they're still tuning in. And so if people are tuning in, then yeah, it is absolutely going to continue.
Well,
I think the biggest thing people are disliking about it is that it's not local broadcast where there's constant homerism towards your team. It's just like these impartial people. And it's so funny because I was on Twitter too, Jen, obviously, and everyone was just hating on the fact that they felt it was skewed Yankees wise. And it's just like, yeah, obviously. Like, how are you not over this yet? Everything in the world is skewed
here?
Yankees wise. It's why everyone hates the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Joel, go ahead.
And there was a lot to talk about with the Yank, like that series specifically.
Yeah.
Like you got to give them a pass on that one because the Yankees were going through like hell and they're getting booed in their home stadium. It would be impossible not to be Yankee centric on that broadcast.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joel.
What I was going to say is that like if you got an endless cycle of so you had TV and then they created TiVo and you're able to record the broadcast and you're able to get out the your advertisement, you're able to watch it a little later, get all those commercials out. Is the same thing going to happen? Is StreamVo going to come and it's going to create a thing that can record the stream and then
I'm sure it will.
And it will be this endless cycle, right? So what happens then is that they eventually have to do like this embedding of commercials, right? Like a double play happens. Bo makes a double play, then he turns to the camera and he flips and it's Pantene Pro V 2 for 1. It's embedded into the gameplay, right? Because then you can't fast forward. It has become a part of the system itself, right? And all these graphics come up. Ooh, big home run. I've been eating my Wheaties, and it's all like embedded within the game because
it looks like Bichette changed his name to Ford Explorer.
Exactly. Good.
So in the YouTube
and Manoa is now Audi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in YouTube chat here, Taco Time says the video work on Apple is great. Just use the Sportsnet radio feed. Which, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is like whether you like the broadcasters or not, like they are doing some cool and interesting stuff with the video and the way they're presenting analytics that we haven't seen before. Whether you like it or not, it's up to you. But the streaming thing, like there's nothing we can do to get away from it. We can move on from here, but like literally, this is where it's going for everything. Forget about just baseball.
Well, I still want to see the day where whether it's Apple or whoever, I, as the viewer at home, get my choice of camera. I get my choice of audio feed. I can listen to the Apple guys. I can listen to Sportsnet. I can listen to the Yes Network. I can pick the first base camera angle. I can pick the whatever. I can pick the mic'd up with Joey Votto audio feed. Like that's what I want, and I think that
would be amazing.
Maybe we're 5, maybe we're 10 years away from that, but like that's never going to happen on just ESPN and Fox and Sportsnet. But if we get some innovation from the outsiders, like I think that's possible. So that's my optimistic take. All right, let's move on now from this to your topics as we approach the top of the hour. Good luck beating T-Rex chopsticks and little baby shark chopsticks swimming across the screen. But Scott, let's start with you because I know you got to take off here in a few minutes. But let's talk your topic. So, floor is yours. What are we talking about?
I wanted to ask the question of, and it was brought up on a broadcast here over the week, and we've talked about Bo Bichette plenty over the last couple of weeks, and that he's had a very down season. And that was one thing that Pat Tabler and Dan Schulman were talking about, was the fact that ball players do have just off seasons. And sometimes they just really struggle to find their game in 162 games. Do you think it's possible that that is what's happening with Bo Bichette? Do you think that the true Bo Bichette is closer to what we're seeing right now? Or do you think the true Bo Bichette is what we saw last year and all the potential everyone was all hyped up on? Is he in his head, I guess is what I'm asking.
I was going to say just quickly, I remember all of last year, even when he was doing okay, they would ask him, like, how do you feel? And he would say, I'm a little out of sync. I'm not really there. I don't feel like. So even all of last year, even when his numbers reflected otherwise, if you asked him personally, or if the broadcasters talked about having a conversation with Bo, it was about him not feeling right at the plate all year, out of sync all year. So this is like, a year and 3/4 of this, you could say. I mean, so I don't know. Like, I don't know which player he is.
Does he need to, like, I know we talked about this last week, so we don't need to spend too much time on it, but like, do you think he goes into this off season and really reinvents his swing? Like, are we at that point, like Sean mentioned, right? Like, we're kind of at 1 year and 3/4 of Bo not feeling like he's seeing the ball, right? Does he start to?
Well, he still hit well last year, did he not? Like, despite not feeling himself, like maybe that was just him being humble. Like, like maybe. I've still got, this isn't, you haven't seen the best of me yet, right? Like the young kid, like.
Yeah, it could have been positioning. Yeah.
But I think he was being honest. Like, I think he felt like, because it wasn't like he had a great year last year. Like he
Didn't
was
he
up
lead
in
baseball in hits.
He
had 100. He did, and he had an OPS of 828. I mean, he was 20%, 21% better than league average. He had a great season. It's just this year he's been painfully average.
Painfully average.
No, that's such a great way of putting it, Jack. Honestly, like, it's not even like he's
not even bad.
A below average shortstop.
He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been good. He's been right in the middle. I mean, you can complain that he hasn't been the all-star he was last year, but no one can say he's been terrible because he just hasn't. He hasn't been an all-star this year.
I mean, even in YouTube here, Lawn Care Made Easy just brought up, he's hitting 260. It's not that bad. And it's not that bad. And I'm not even complaining about Bo here. But I just kind of want your guys' take on, like, is this just what we should expect from Bo Bichette going forward?
It's not that bad, but when he's also not playing a very good shortstop, then it sort of compounds things as well, I think. And then when you factor in what people's expectations were, right? Him and Vlad, it was their team. And Vlad himself is having a down year, but definitely last year he met and exceeded expectations, right? Like fans.
The ceiling for Vlad is higher, and we know that now. And the floor this year we're also seeing is higher than it is with Bo.
Right.
I mean, the off season, we were talking about matching twin contracts for these two.
Right, which is not going to happen. I wonder, and I hesitate to even say this, so I'm not really going to go into it, but I do wonder.
Take some more painkillers. Let loose, Jen. You only live once.
No,
share it with us.
I wonder if some
your
of
name's on the bottle. Go nuts.
I wonder if some of the off-field noise has had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that the first 1,500, like you hear this from old school guys a lot, first 1,500 at bats, that there's a flow. Like Bo comes into the league, his approach at the plate is incredibly aggressive, insanely aggressive. I'm going to attack first pitch. And a lot of pitchers come in and go, what's that mean? I'm going to throw him a fastball first pitch no matter what. He grooves a lot. First 500, 600 at bats or so, he puts up a really solid OPS. Word gets around the league. You can't throw this guy first pitch fastball. You nibble away, low and away, and he'll go after it, and you get a 1. And then you get in his head, and then strikeouts come a lot, So there's to me, 1,500 at bats is you come into the league adjusts to you, then you have to adjust back to the league, right? And right now the approach is all over the league on how you go after Bo and Vladdy. And it's like the same thing. The same amount of decrease in their OPS is pretty much because every single team approaches them the same way at the plate. You're going to beat us low and away. And
I see them sometimes not even being careful with Bo. Like Bo will be behind 0-2 because they're coming at him.
Yeah,
like they don't respect him. Like, they're being very careful with Vladdy and always have, even when he's not hitting well. But with Bo, you can see them sort of saying now, like, we don't need to do anything here. We can just
you'll get yourself out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is a thing that he's got to address in the off season, right? Like, it's August 21st and he hasn't been able to kind of put it together. Like, this is something that he's just going to keep needing to kind of fight his way through until he can kind of concentrate on something different, right? Or
think about this from a hitting perspective, right? If he doesn't have 2 strikes, he's gearing to hit 1 deep. He's trying to hit 1 over the fence. If he doesn't have 2 strikes, he's got the leg kick. You know that.
Yeah.
Then when he's got 2 strikes, the power is gone. He's not trying to hit a home run.
Considering how he barely walks, he needs a 2-strike approach.
In only 2 situations. There's 2 different approaches. Why is that approach not? There's 2 runners on. It's a 1-run game. I'm going to take the 2-strike approach every single pitch. Right? Like there's situational usages of what he does good, right? That he can apply to himself to slightly augment the way he goes at each at bat, as opposed to if I don't have 2 strikes, I'm trying to hit 1 over the wall. If I have 2 strikes,
like there really are so many theories out there, because we did watch him lead the league in hits. That's no small accomplishment last year. Like, that's truly an impressive feat, right? And I mean, even in chat here, New Brunswick, Canada guy says Bichette cried when Simeon left. Maybe what he's missing is the veteran influence. And that's another theory out there. But honestly, you look at Matt Chapman and the veteran influence that he would provide, and that just doesn't seem like
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
To me,
it's not even close to the same thing. I mean, Chapman, from what I've gathered from watching him, he's not the humble infielder like Simeon was. He's not. Simeon was very quiet, and he just seemed like a good leader. Chapman doesn't give me that same vibe, and honestly, he hasn't put up nearly the same numbers as Simeon has, but I don't think he will. But I think with Bo, he needs a 2-strike approach, because it seems like he doesn't have one. Maybe do a toe tap instead of like a giant swing on 2 strikes, because he doesn't walk. He's never going to walk throughout his career. So he needs to learn how to adjust to what pitchers have been adjusting to throwing to him, if that made any sense at all, which it may not have. But I don't think this is what we're going to see from Bo Bichette as an Orioles fan, from watching him destroy us in the past. He's 24 years old. He has so much time to adjust in the offseason, and he hasn't even been bad this year. He just needs to go back to what we saw in 2019 and 2021. We need to, and 2020 as well, really. We just need to see him go back to that and go back to basics, figure it out. Maybe learn how to walk a little bit. Shoot. Maybe. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he has an on-base percentage under 300. That's disgusting. That's not a major league on-base percentage. Yeah.
And maybe this might be crazy. Move Espinal to short and him to second. That could also do a little bit, because Simeon moved to second, and you saw what he did. And he's not even having a terrible year this year with Texas. So maybe positional change is what he need, because he can work on his offense a little bit. He has range, and it's nice to have a second baseman to have range. But much more of a low stress situation for him. That's probably what he needs.
It's still so crazy to me to think back last year. Me hit 5 home runs, Vladdy, and his team missed the playoffs. And right now, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but it's looking pretty good. And, Matt Chapman's at 23, Vladdy's at 25 for the team lead right now. Like, they'll both hit 30 home runs this season. But think about what a step back that was from the home run leads last year, which was just monster seasons from both Simeon and Vlad.
But also the balls were juiced last year as well. Let's not forget that. The balls were
sticky stuff, though. It was harder to hit. Yeah.
Spider tack.
It was Spider tack. Garrett Cole's best friend. That's for sure. Shout out Joel.
I just want to jump in here and say I don't think the solution is Espinal to short and Bichette to second. I think the solution would be more like go out, sign a real shortstop, bring in Carlos Correa, then move Bichette to second. And I want to like encourage Bo Bichette to not be a power hitter and just be like, look, you're Ichiro. Go get to the 3,000 hit club.
Well, Gurriel has given up power for contact,
right?
And look at what that's done for him, and I would love to see that from Bo, right? Because it would be just so much more valuable, right, to the team if he could just make good contact, rather than, like you said, sort of an all or nothing type of approach.
You've got.
If it wasn't for Luis Arise, with the Twins, Gurriel would be in a battle for the batting title right now.
Oh,
it's kind of true.
Yeah. It just shows that you can only hit a certain way, right? Like, look at the shifts. How many years have we talked about, like, why don't they just hit it again? Why don't they just hit it where they ain't? Like, well, they can't.
Not as that.
Only Anthony Rizzo can do that.
Like, I don't really think that what Bo needs to do is to change the way that he hits or anything like that. What I think he needs to do is like he'll come up and he's so aggressive that it's first pitch slider away. He swings at it the same way he would fastball 6 inches up and in. Like it comes out of the hand and he's like, go, 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 get it, put the bat on, and
close your eyes and cross your fingers.
Just I'm gonna get it. I can get it. That's what he's thinking. I can get that ball. I can hit it. I'll try it. I missed.
Dante wants me to swing. Dante said swing.
Exactly. And he's like, so you narrow that strike zone early on in the count. You look for a
swing
specific
hard,
pitch. You think about tendencies and where guys are going to try to pitch you, and because the super aggressive approach at 260, the 260 batting average is great, but not the 298 on base.
Yeah.
Right. Not that 298 on base. And that's because he's going to hit 250 no matter what. But you keep pushing that aggressiveness on base, narrows and narrows and narrows. And he's hitting 255, his on base is 256. And you're like,
he's got Randall Grishik numbers right now. Let's be serious.
Right. Like it's you just got to,
it's painfully average.
Yeah, you got to get up there.
Average.
They used
be
to call
aggressive in certain situations, but not
the Gritch who stole postseason.
All right. Any last comments to throw in there on Scott's topic about Bo Bichette, or shall we move on?
He needs to learn how to relax.
Moving on. Joel, floor is yours, my friend.
Before you step in there, Joel, I'm just going to, before we get into another topic, I'm just going to say goodbye to all of you and thank you so much. And hopefully we talk to y'all in a week or two.
All
Cheers,
right, take care, Scott.
See ya. Have a good one.
All right, Joel.
Thank God he's finally gone.
I know, right?
Yeah, seriously, gosh. What was he drinking? I saw him have a drink earlier. What was it? It looked really good.
Sure pink and frothy, wasn't it?
I mean, he could have just left. He didn't need to make a big deal out of it. Anyway.
All right. The Scott show is over. Let's continue with the five of us. Joel.
I don't even think that there's like a rebuttal to my point. This
is confidence.
This is just a statement. Well, it's not like I'm not trying to ask for your opinion or anything. It's just something that I just wanted to bring up. Since Foreign Substance got banned last year, the reason I did the entire thing on TikTok was Garrett Cole, April 14th against like the Jays last year, going 8 innings, 2 hits, like 11, 12 Ks, just untouchable every time through the lineup. And I hated it so much. It drove me insane. I did the Foreign Substance videos. Since the banning of Foreign Substance, he is 0-4 against the Jays with a 6.0 ERA. And the thing that I loved the most was that Kirk hit on the 0-2 101 100 mile an hour fastball upstairs that had never been hit before. Like, did you guys see that on the broadcast? How they brought up this pitch has never been hit before. And the point that I want to make is how ridiculous is it that the guy who hits it is the shortest goddamn guy in the league, right? Isn't it the hardest? Wouldn't he be the last person who should be able to hit that pitch? And no, he gets to that 100-mile-an-hour pitch upstairs. And I really enjoyed watching that. So
and that happened earlier in the season too with Vladdy, right? Didn't Vladdy get a hit off of him where it was like that pitch has never been, he's never had given up a hit on that pitch before or something?
Kind of that low and away double that he got on the he had 3 hits, 3 extra base hits against Cleveland. It's been lovely. It's been lovely ever since they took that sticky stuff away from him. So anyways.
All right. Well, I just want to mention, since you brought up sticky stuff, is sticky stuff back? Is this a thing now? Or we just, it's back, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it is. A little bit. And I hate it considering the balls are dead, and the balls are officially dead. I think it's safe to say. And the sticky stuff is back. This is a pitcher's game, and no one likes it.
How do you know the sticky stuff's back? Aren't they still looking at guys' fingers?
Yeah, they do this. They go high five, and we're good.
Yeah,
they do. Well, they do that, but umpires aren't even allowed to check like pitchers' hair. If they have, like Corbin Burns, he has longer hair. Pitchers can go to their hair, then go to their back, to their hat. The umpires haven't been able to check that unless the managers ask them to, which I haven't seen any do. Joel, you probably have, but I haven't seen any of them do that.
They've like the ones that have been like, if you think about pitchers who've been classically checked and caught, it's like Emery board in the back pocket, goop in the glove. It's like the really obvious ones. These are the ones that have been caught. Has anybody been caught for foreign substance in the belt buckle or on the pants or in the hair? Right? Like these ones, Michael Pineda, big piece of like poop on the back of his neck. But like these are those obvious ones have been caught. But some of the sneaky ones are still going unnoticed.
Closing pitchers can get away with it. Josh
and guys are going in and out of games without being checked at all. And it's really just this. It's really just this.
Yeah, the number of times I see the umpires checking at the end of an inning has definitely been reduced since last season, for sure.
I wonder if they're even required to do it anymore. I wonder if that's still a requirement. Maybe it's sort of like a courtesy. No,
there was supposed to be a standard of starting pitchers get checked twice, and then every
relief pitcher is supposed to get checked. Yeah,
right. And the thing that baffles me was that little 3 month gap last year when they had officially brought in the ban was like the first decrease in hit by pitch in like 18 years. In that 4 month blip, that was the only decrease in hit by pitch. It's consistently going up, and then it stopped and actually went down for 4 months, and now it's back to increasing. And it's like, that doesn't matter.
One of the things,
your best players being out doesn't matter.
I never noticed if this happened or not, but it would have been, I mean, I'm sure it happened a lot where guys give up like 6 runs in an inning and still get their hand checked. Like, that's just like, I just got blitzed and you want to like check, like, no, I'm fine. I'm clean. I'm giving up 6
like,
runs.
No, I'm
the opposing manager's like, please don't check that guy.
Yeah.
Whatever he's doing, we're good with it.
Emery board, spider tack, and I still gave up 6.
Yeah,
well, I've been suspicious that the sticky stuff is back since they stopped checking the rest of the, like last year it was take your belt buckle out, hand over your glove, take your hat off, drop your drawers, bend and cough. We're going to find this stuff. And now because it's the quick high five, like.
Well, the thing that doesn't make sense to me is, I mean, this is like, what, $1 billion industry. You can't, does it have to be the home plate umpire that checks you? Like, why can't it be somebody else? Like, why can't it be a team, like a non, just an MLB official?
Right.
Why does it have to be the umpire? Because when it's the umpire, of course, it's going to become this cursory kind of like, I got to check your finger, like whatever. But if it was just like an actual employee who was in the dugout, why can't it be that? If you want to
talk about like intrusiveness, right? Like you're the pitcher, like this is, you're invading my, like they do blood tests for steroids. You're telling me that like Tatis getting suspended 80 games for cheating to make himself better is not the same
better at fighting off ringworm.
You guys, ringworm is serious.
I bet Kay's an athlete's foot once.
Whenever somebody comes
some
out
HGH
with
for it,
look, it was my fault. I took it for ringworm. I should have talked to my mom. Like, yeah.
And Darvish is fine for doing this. Like literally, Darvish is doing it again too. So that's the guy on the same team.
Is that why he's been
Making
pitching
big
so
money.
well?
What's that? Oh,
Is
there's
that why
a
he's
lot
pitching
of
so well?
Darvish
That would
video.
explain it.
Yeah. There's a lot of him and his green glove going and gooping again. So it's
If
just
you
like
could, Joe, if you could unironically send me those videos like to my phone, just text it to me. I will make an entire video out of it. I will do
I'll
that
send you.
on
I'll
the
send you
spot.
more. You Darvish cheating.
Awesome. But no, I've definitely noticed it with a lot of my Orioles doing it where they've thrown the ball. I've seen a lot of that. And for some reason the umpires are checking the left hand. If you're a righty, they're checking their left hand where the glove
off.
is. Why would they put sticky stuff on the hand where their glove is? Why would they do that? That would make no sense at all. I just don't understand why they aren't checking why they aren't looking at
This just feels like steroid era baseball again, where like they don't really want to catch anybody.
Other players aren't checked either, right? So you're telling me some guy, catches the ball at first base and doesn't wipe a little something on it before tossing it back to the pitcher?
That's what I'd be doing.
Exactly.
Every time you go around,
I would have done that as well.
Every time you get an out, you're loading that ball up. If you're on the infield, you got to be thinking of doing that, right? Why not? They're not checking those guys. They're not checking shortstop. Not checking second base.
I was just about to say that.
It's a really good point, Jen.
All right, and you thought we'd have nothing to talk about, Joel. Well, na boo boo. Sticky stuff. Jack, we'll go to you now, Mr. Orioles fan. You Darvish, poop on him for us. The floor is yours.
So, I mean, this isn't exactly my topic, as mainly this is Joel's point of expertise, I think, when it comes to sticky stuff and you Darvish, which he's pointed out to me, and I've been kind of shocked by this. Darvish, for a majority of his career, has been a very dominant pitcher, I think it's safe to say. And then as soon as sticky stuff, gets exposed, it's like he's looked like Matt Harvey when he was an Oriole. It's been very, very bad. And I just don't understand why he is not the prime example. Instead of Garrett Cole, why isn't he the prime example for sticky stuff? I mean, he's been in the league almost, if not longer than Garrett Cole has, and he's been as dominant, if not maybe a little bit more during his prime than Garrett Cole has been during his prime, I would say, because he's also been very dominant. So why isn't sticky stuff being, looked at more heavily? But that wasn't my topic. My topic was an Oriole topic, but I don't think anybody's going to have a lot of expertise in that. And it's that, considering how well we've played this season, it's a very basic one, how well we played this season, and there have been a lot of Orioles who've taken steps back, like Mountcastle's taken a step back this season, even though he's played well against the Blue Jays, which I've loved watching. It's no knock. Cedric Mullins is a very different player. He's also been painfully average. Do the Orioles look at Carlos Correa in the offseason? Are we expecting that they'll play as well next season? Because I don't think they will. I think they'll resort back to an under 500 team, barely. But do they make any big moves? Do they open the pockets? And do they open the wallets and give Carlos Correa a blank check? Because I don't see it.
I don't know. I'm going to step in here because I was saying this offseason that I thought the Orioles were a dark horse contender for Carlos Correa. I think the front office connections there, it made sense. Made sense why they didn't end up pulling the trigger on it. You would know the team better than I do. So I do think it is, what kind of confidence do they have to take that next step? If they are confident in this team taking the next step, I think they'd be crazy not to spend money on a Carlos Correa.
I think that I fully agree with you, honestly. But the other thing that has occurred this season is Gunnar Henderson playing out of his mind. He's the number 2 prospect in baseball now. He's not number 1 anymore. He was for a little bit, which is funny because he wasn't even number 1 in the Orioles farm system when he was the number 1 overall prospect.
Right.
That was Grayson Rodriguez, which I'm very excited to see him come up at some point. He should be up if we make a playoff push, which I don't think we will. But I mean, I think if the Orioles want to solely rely on their farm system, give Gunnar Henderson the starting shortstop role next season. Just give it to him. Say, you know what? Or move him to second and then get rid of Odor, because I've disliked Odor this entire season.
I think we can all agree with that one.
Oh my God, he's just been so bad. Like, he's our manager's been wanting to get him in the lineup every single day for some reason, and he's just been bad in every aspect, defensively, offensively, except in the clutch. He's been good. But how often does that happen? Not super often.
The thing I wanted to bring up about the Orioles is your guys' like stadium design, your new layout, right? Like that
deep
took a lot
outfield
of
left, right?
right. Yeah,
Deep left,
I
yeah.
think that has a lot to do probably with a little bit of regression statistically, right? Because
That's very true. Yeah.
that's some like you're taking away home runs and making them fly balls with a lot of
Right.
those things, right? So, but I think in turn that almost becomes a little bit more of your approach when you look on how the Orioles want to win in the future is that you don't play in that same bandbox stadium where you can just launch balls down the right field line and rely on the home run approach. It's a much more diverse offensive style that you almost need now to win. And you've seen offense just pretty much drop in Camden Yards this year, right? It's considerably less. So, it's
Right.
I think playing to that new design.
That left field wall has absolutely killed so many of Trey Mancini's home runs. He would have.
Yeah.
I read a stat where he had like 12 or 13 or something like 11 or 10 as an Oriole. Before he got traded, he would have had like 17 or 18 at home if the left field wall was the size it was last year. But that's also played a huge part of it, right? Yeah, and then goes to Houston and cranks like 3, and then cranks like 3 or 4. I mean, 2 were in Houston, 1 was away. I think you just hit one in Cleveland. I think
it's got 310 feet to go, right? So it's just like
something like that.
It's
Yeah,
completely shift in what you get to do. So
I think if you were looking at the Orioles, from a Blue Jay perspective, it's like they are where the Jays were when they signed Springer in the offseason. So you could kind of blow your brains out and go get Correa or something, but do those work? I would rather just bring up my young guys, let them play. If the Jays could go back in time, would they want to give Springer $25 million to be kind of in and out and hurt and up? I don't know if they would do that deal again.
I don't think
I would just. Because if you're the Orioles, how are you going to get ahead of the Red Sox or the Yankees? And it's going to be just let your kids play.
I don't even think with our Orioles right now, I don't even think our goal is to be ahead of the Yankees and the Red Sox, because here's the thing, we're already ahead of the Red Sox. And I think that's probably going to be how it is for the next few years, because
I meant financial.
Oh, right.
Sort of
right.
Because how much can the Orioles spend? I guess that's why the Red Sox have regressed. They don't spend like they used to, right?
Because they have Chaim Bloom. Because Chaim Bloom is their GM. He was the former Rays GM, and he's trying to kind of do what the Rays did and do a lot of waiver claims and farm development. And the Red Sox don't have a farm system. They just don't have one, a very good one.
Well, and the Red Sox are right up against the luxury tax threshold.
Right.
Despite somehow not spending money, they've also really painted themselves into a financial corner.
Because of the money they used to spend.
Because of old shitty contracts, right?
Right.
I don't want. Yeah. So if I was an Oriole fan, I'd be like, I don't want to get boxed in. I don't want to get boxed in by any bad deal right now. Just let my kids.
The crazy thing is that we have so much money we can spend. It's not even funny. We can afford to give Carlos Correa a bad contract, and that won't even hurt us horribly financially. If we give him like $30 million a year, that ups our payroll to what, like $90 million? If we sign him, if he's the only main signing we make. So we could get away with giving him a bad contract if he doesn't perform as well, and we would still be fine, which is wonderful. I love that. Like, my thing is, do we want to let our farm system handle the major league duties, or do we want to bring in some big name free agents? Because I would be fine with doing a little bit of both. I'd be fine with moving Henderson to second base, leave Mateo at short because he's a defensive wizard. His offense really isn't there, but that's kind of fine with me. He brings speed and gets on base occasionally, steals a base. I'll take it. I'd move Henderson to second base. That's what I would do, and then let our farm system do the rest.
I'd get rid of all your good players. Just get rid of them.
To the Jays.
just give them away.
Don't be competitive for 5 more years, would you?
Wait, who? We don't have any.
Just stop playing well ever again.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Jen,
good division.
Do you have any non-Orioles topics for us to discuss on this Blue Jays show?
I do.
You brought me in.
I know. It's good to hear. It is good to see the Orioles' perspective, because it is,
as long as you keep
unfortunately, going to be a thorn in our side for the next 5 years. So we better get familiar with your situation, right?
Battle of the Birds. I'll take it.
Here we go.
I like it, to be honest, right? Like, you know, I've come to really dislike the rhetoric of, oh, well, the Jays play in the EAL East. Oh, the Jays play in the EAL East. Yes, they do. And, you know, they have a front office or an ownership group that can compete financially. So stop whining about it and go out there and play in the freaking AL East. One side note, I'm very thrilled that John Gibbons has finally made the decision to join Twitter.
Is he really? Oh my goodness.
He is on Twitter, and that is very exciting to me. Really,
excuse my bad manners. I'm looking up his Twitter right now.
I believe is it John Gibbons 05? I believe. But yes, he is there. Okay, I'll give you 2 topics as I usually do. So topic number 1 would be, who are you calling up when rosters expand? Who are your choices? I believe they can call up 2. Only one can be a pitcher. Mm-hmm. So who would you call up? Or if you prefer, which team that is currently in the wild card race would you rather face in the wild card?
Those are.
I mean, it can't be the Rays. It just can't. I mean, to me, it's anybody but the Rays. You know, anybody but the Rays. You know, I'll take my chances with anybody. It just can't be the Rays. For some, you know,
for reasons that can't be articulated.
I don't want to play the Rays. Like, just
no, not the Rays.
Just the history that we have with them. You know, like, is just they find a way to beat us when it matters. Like, you know, that's the history we have with them, is when it really matters, we make mistakes, they don't. So I don't want to play them, but it's not like I want to play the other ones, but anybody but the Rays for me.
Yeah, I think Rays would be up there. I also, as a second choice, I would not want to play the Mariners. I think I would take any of those AL Central teams.
I would love to play the Mariners in Seattle.
Well, just so we can go to a game, right?
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the pandemonium of like Blue Jays Mariners 3-game series in Seattle?
That'd be amazing.
It would be quite the crowd. A lot of Canadian fans at that game.
Wow.
It would be fun.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I worry about the Mariners having like a weird Cinderella team this year. You know, longest playoff drought in baseball, I think. Yeah, I just worry about them getting hot and going right all the way. So I don't want to play them. I don't want to play the Rays. I would take the Guardians, the Twins, or the White Sox. Are the Red Sox an option? Can I choose them? Are they still in the race?
Who has the best starting pitching out of those teams?
Guardians are kind of scary.
The Guardians are the
leader,
AL Central winners. Yeah, they're Central leaders,
leader.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're close. It's close though.
It's close.
It's like 2 games. Yeah. So I'm including them.
I'm including all of those AL Central teams in the wild card race. I think anybody could win that division. Anybody could be the leftover for a wild card.
I think the White Sox would be the easiest pick because they've just been unbelievably inconsistent. And I've said this twice now. They've been painfully average as well. I mean, they have a negative run differential, and they're 3 games over 500. Their run differential is minus 29 right now as we record this. So, and they haven't been good. I mean, if you throw Johnny Cueto game 1, you're probably going to lose game 1. I'll give you that because he's been incredible this season. But the White Sox, to me, is the easiest option. I mean, the option that I would not want to face is the Mariners. That's the easy shoe-in option. I wouldn't want to face that offense. They have so many slap hitters and so many just. They're such a deep team, and it's a shame that they're not winning the AL West right now.
Okay, you talked about like a Cueto game 1 matchup. Was it? I guess 2 years ago now, we saw some chicanery from the management as to who we started game 1 in the playoffs, right? The strategy was not have our ace go against their ace. Does this ring a bell to anyone? I don't know if this was in my head. Did this actually happen, or was this just talked about as a potential strategy? But I feel like there was a discussion about the Jays not starting Ryu in game 1
Yes.
against Garrett Cole or something like this,
Yes.
because we thought, well, we're going to lose to Garrett Cole anyways. Let's have the advantage in 2 and 3. So we'll put our third guy in game 1, lose that one, and then have the advantage in 2 and 3.
That was the conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that a conversation worth having this year?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, because
Okay.
the difference between Ryu and Manoah is so massive, right? Like,
is Manoah your game 1 starter, or is it Gosman?
I would go Manoah, because I mean you're gonna need that kind of bulldog to getting in a 3-game series. Obviously, game 1 is critical, right? So like, who is the guy that you trust the most? And he's got to start game 1. For me, like, I know some people would say, oh, he's got to be in game 3, but if you're down 2-0, it's already over. So he's going to pitch one of those games. And I would put your a bulldog, like the guy you trust the most in game 1, and that would be Manoah for me. Gosman can get hit, like Gosman can have a rough game. They can sit on a pitch and maybe get him. Manoah, even when he's not feeling it, he's still 3 runs or less over 6 innings.
Manoah's ERA is 4.5 over his last 5 starts. That's since the All-Star break. That is since surpassing his career high in innings pitched. So read into that what you will. He has not looked like the Cy Young candidate on this side of the All-Star break. So for me, that's a factor. Is if he's going to be a 4 ERA guy the rest of the way, I don't want to see him in game 1.
I'm probably running Manoah at home and then Gosman on the road, because Gosman's road ERA is like
That's not how the first round works, though. First round is all 3 games in one stadium.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Situationally, if you're in the situation where your game 1 is at home, then I'm running Manoah. If game 1 is on the road, then I'm running Gosman.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because Gosman's road ERA is just insane. It's like second best in baseball.
Hey, side note, this has nothing to do with the conversation. I just found the signature I got back in 2013 when I was at camp, and Kevin Gosman came to camp with Caleb Joseph, if that name rings a bell. He was a Blue Jay.
Oh,
yeah, Blue Jays pitcher. There you go.
Yeah, he came over. They both came over, and I found my signatures of those 2 players. So I miss Gosman so much. I really do.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it for the.
Well, I haven't done mine yet.
No. I meant for Jen's topic.
For that topic. Okay, yeah. Wait, didn't Jen have 2?
She did, but I thought the second one you were going to use.
We got to choose, right? Whether it was somebody we brought up or whether I think we all just stuck with who we wanted to face. I think we all just kind of made the same choice.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in here with who are we bringing up? I want to see Matt Gage back in this bullpen as our lefty. I think he pitched very well this year, and I want to see. I'm torn on Gabriel Moreno because I do think he is our most talented offensive weapon, but our least able to get him into the game. So I think I'd rather see a wrinkle that we can throw in with some speed, like a Chavez Young, someone who can go out there, be a pinch runner, that can steal a base, that can lay down a bunt, give us a little bit of like small ball flexibility come October.
Joel, how much more baseball could Moreno play if he stayed in AAA? Like,
I think the season is over at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just extra baseball. So I would bring up Moreno just because I would in a situation where it's like 2 outs, 9th inning, we're down by a run. Like, I would believe that he can like put a bat on the ball.
Well, I mean,
maybe extend a baseball game. You know what I mean? Like,
I suppose there is also the option of like a 5th inning situation where Alejandro Kirk gets on and you just want to pinch run him, and then have another catcher ready to go. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is what you do.
I would trust him as a hitter more than anybody else who would be an option.
I would say with Moreno that whatever you see has to be kind of your approach with what you do with him in the off season. So it's just like, if you want him on the team, you play him. If you're going to package him and deal him, you leave him in the minors and you keep his kind of number 1 prospect status, and you don't really try to worry about exposing his value, I think, in the pros. But to me, that's You have, you want to bring up a guy that is more valuable, I guess. So that's another reason to bring him up. But to me, it's just like, I'm bringing him up, right? I want to see him played, but like, yeah, leave him down if you want to deal him, I guess.
As far as pitchers go, like, did I miss Nate Pearson's funeral? Is he officially dead, or what? Is he even deceased? Can I see the casket? Where is this guy?
I just don't bring up his name anymore.
No,
That's tough.
I just don't want.
He's on the 60-day IL as we speak.
oh my god. Like Kurt, like I thought he's not even in rehab. He's not even like doing a rehab start or anything. Like what happened? What was his latest thing?
Well, 4 weeks ago, TSN reported that the Blue Jays were hoping Pearson would be available in a few weeks. Now, I'm just reading a headline. I'm not reading anything else.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm with you. I guess, Matt Gage would be a lefty option, and he looked good. Or Thomas Hatch. Just see what happens. You know what I mean? Bring him up and see where he's at. What happened to Thomas Hatch? I like Thomas. I thought he was going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know. Nate Pearson, Julian Merriweather. Just a bunch of toys we can't play with, eh?
Yeah, and now we're just throwing him out of our crib.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Sean, floor is yours. What's our topic, buddy?
Well, I just wanted to ask, because I'm, sort of the, I don't really know much, but I was kind of, obviously Atkins and Shapiro have thrown numbers in term at Vladdy and Bo probably the last two off seasons and haven't gotten anywhere with their agents. So I'm just wondering, like, what are the odds that we are in a position where we're just sort of like we're doing a Juan Soto dance with Vladdy Guerrero in not next year but the year after, where it's like, sorry, he's just going to test it, period. Like, I just have a bad feeling as a Jays fan that both of them are the kind of guys where it's just like, we're just going to go test it, like, see what happens. Why hasn't it happened already?
I've said a bunch of times that Vlad and Bo are quite different from a lot of other young players in that they grew up with money and they have been around baseball people their entire life, right? And so
yeah,
I would bet that they would want to test free agency regardless of what the offer is. I think that especially Vlad would want to bet on himself and be able to have offers to choose from when that day comes. And I have a feeling that's the advice that he would be given by his father. Just a guess, just strictly a guess. I think that the only way the Blue Jays have a shot at locking in Vlad long term is if they have like a massive off season. Retool that lineup, retool that starting rotation, add another big name player, whether it is Correa or somebody, and turn to Vlad and say, you're still our centerpiece. Look what we've added. Is this not a team you want to play with for the foreseeable future? I think that's the only shot they have at locking him down long term.
I don't disagree with you. I think both guys, the lure of free agency is real when you're a megastar. I think that wanting to win is a big factor because I feel like at that level, everybody who's going to be in on that bidding war is going to be it's going for Vlad. It's going to be a contract that starts with at least a 4, right? It's going to be how many years is it and $1 quadrillion. So I think he is going to have his options of like, do I want to stick with Toronto for $400 million? Or do I want to go to the Dodgers for $400 million? Or do I want to go to the Yankees for $400 million? Or do I want to go to the Padres and play with Juan Soto for $400 million? Like, yeah, I'm worried about this team going into the final year of Vlad. I mean, to Sean's point, right? Like getting to a point where we're in the final year of a contract and we're just like, well, let's flip them and try and get something because what good is a qualifying offer? And a second round draft pick if we're losing Vladdy, right? Like,
yeah, it's funny. Like baseball just get in all sports, it gets poisoned by money. Where like we all like, oh, Vladdy is fun to watch, he's great, and then all of a sudden, there's no contract, and in the final year when the Jays are like, we have to sell, obviously we got to get rid of Vladdy, we got to get something for him, and then they leak their offer, and their offer is obscene, and Vladdy turned it down, and now we don't like Vladdy because he turned down $42.8 million a year or whatever. And like, how dare
it's happening with Aaron Judge right now, right? Like, who would have guessed Aaron Judge was actually going to be?
It happened with Soto, right? Soto was demonized by most, So,
but they'll be embraced by their new market, right? Like,
yeah,
because that's the trade-off. Is Toronto's going to be annoyed with me for 6 more months, and then I'm going to have a lot of high fives waiting for me in San Diego. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but what about Bo? Like, is he somebody that we could sort of buy low on to a certain extent? Say like, okay, like you don't look great, but we know you are, so maybe we're closer to a deal for him than we ever would be for Vlad.
I don't know that that's where their mindset is.
I just don't think that Bo is the kind of guy who's ever going to not bet on himself.
Well, he might start thinking about it, because you might want to bet on something other than the guy who's got a on-base percentage under 3.
Yeah,
bet on something else, not you.
The thing that I was going to say about Vladdy and our chance of like re-signing Vladdy is not like, okay, so we know that Soto had all these offers coming. I would have assumed that in the off season they must have at least brought up a long-term extension to Vladdy after his MVP season. Okay,
sure.
Whatever that would be, right? Now you have this season. Okay, you have this season. He comes off of it. He ends the year with 97 RBIs, 32 home runs, and he bats 281, and his OPS is 846. I don't know, something in there,
sure.
Right? You come back at him with the exact same thing that you offered him at the end of last year. Now, does that offer say, hey, listen, we know you had a bad year, but here's the exact same thing that we were going to offer you last year. We haven't lost any faith in 350.
I guess it's a good point. It's a good point to say, like, if we don't have them on long-term deals to start next season, then there probably is no way that that's going to happen, with 2 of them having, like, quote unquote down years or whatever, and they still won't sign. Like, that's a problem.
Well, and it goes back to that point. There's money and there's winning, right? Both would be a factor. I don't believe Vlad wants to take a boatload of money to just sit on a losing team, right? I do believe that he absolutely wants to win.
Agreed. I think if the Texas Rangers offer him $500 million, he would rather go to the Dodgers for $400.
Right. And that's why I'm saying, so I'm not happy with the Blue Jays trade deadline, but if they did save all of those bullets to go out and just have an incredible off season, fix what they know is broken, you know what I mean? Because and then be able to say to Vlad, here's that same offer, and look at this team now, sort of thing. I think that's really the only shot that they have at potentially getting him to sign on that dotted line. And I'm not saying that he would. I think that's the only way that they might entice him to do so.
I agree with you, but I also think that the Jays have done a great job of showing him already that they're serious.
I don't disagree.
They'll spend to get Springer. They'll spend to get Gausman. They will spend. Like, Rogers has shown him that they will spend money. Like, it's not necessarily that they're going to construct the greatest team, but they will spend.
I don't disagree, but if it's a disappointing end to the season or a quick exit out of the playoffs, what they spent on the team doesn't matter, right? It's because it's not the right team.
Is there any good young players in Colorado that they can give us for Bo Bichette? Because I feel like that would be a good place for him. Dante's old stomping grounds. Let's turn the humidor off and let him start hitting 40 home runs a year. But we got to get a Trevor Story type in return. Anything else to add on this fucking depressing last topic about the Blue Jays losing all of their good young stars next year?
This is what I bring to the table.
You know what? It's not, I don't see that as depressing in the sense that whatever makes the team better is what you want. Right? And you can't make guys sign on the dotted line. So then you have to figure out how do you replace them. But we're not at that point yet. We're not at that point. And that's another reason for this front office to have a massive offseason. Right? Because you have how many, you have a limited time, likely you have a limited time with your franchise player at the helm. So just go out there, spend that money, sell those prospects, just do it. Because this is the window. This is what you've been talking about for the past 3 seasons. This is it. So just throw money at it.
I love it, Jen. I love
40 years
with you.
Yeah.
40 years of the team. Oh, I was just going to say 40 years of the team, and you've got a guy who's got the fastest of 500 hits, and he's got all the milestone records to this point as a player on the team. And when you have a guy like 2026 is his free agent year, right? You have these years now as a selling point that we're going to spend more on you over these next 3 years and increase your yearly amount. And that's the sway that you have on these players. And if we're not a team that makes a deal for that type of player, then you're saying that you're a team that's under, like we've thrown 110 million at a player. We're not San Diego. You're telling Canada as a market that they're not equal to San Diego as a team that's willing to go out and throw money at a player and totally shit the bed on that contract so far. The guy doesn't even play baseball, but they threw 300 something million at their star, at their guy who could be the guy, at the hopes and dreams of the future, right? Like it doesn't come along. Is there another Vladdy 3 years away in the pipeline? We've had one with this type of, he's projected as the best hitter for the next 10 years type guy. So if we're not going to pull the trigger on that, what do you pull the trigger on at that?
Well, and that's why the whining about playing in the AL East just doesn't sit well with me, because this team very easily can spend at the top of the market, and they have prospect capital that they can trade, right? And as you said, they have an entire country as a fan base. And they control the marketing and they control the broadcasts, and there's a lot there. So,
Yeah, and the wild card being legitimate, like the wild card round being an actual legitimate part of the postseason instead of just like a 1-game spectacle that you could never, really get your heart into. Like now it's real, so you don't need to worry about like, oh, we're in the AL East, like play your way in, right? I mean, finish second, finish third, play your way in. If you're really that dominant of a division, then we should see a bunch of you in the ALDS.
Yeah.
This
is true.
We can go get it.
True.
All right. Where do we go from here? That's a fucking depressing topic. Thanks, Sean.
Did you do your topic?
My topic I have not done. Okay. My topic, we'll end with this. This is baseball related. It's MLB adjacent. It is the most purest, entertaining baseball I've seen in a long time. Is the Little League World Series. This Team Canada is going on a little bit of a run here in the international bracket, okay? Does anybody else here follow the Little League World Series or what's going on? I'm sure you've heard of it before, maybe or maybe not. You're following along. Canada we started the tournament 7-0 against Australia, and then we had a big upset against Japan on Friday. We beat them 6-0. On Monday, we're playing Mexico, and then the winner of that game takes on the winner of Panama versus Chinese Taipei, which is one of the big favorites to win, so that's going to be a tough matchup. But this is like the most entertaining baseball. If you haven't watched it yet, I mean, it's on ESPN or whatever, but even just like hop on YouTube and watch like a 15-minute recap of a game. It's like nonstop action, and anything can happen at any moment because these are not like regional all-star teams. These are like the best team from a region, but there are still players who are like just kind of casual baseball. Like there's a team from, I think, Indiana. The town's population is like 1,100, and it's just like their local team has just like happened to be good. And it's so much fun to watch because you'll see like a ground ball to the third baseman would be a routine out in MLB. And it's just like, nope, this is a wild throw into right field. And now everybody's running. You know, you're seeing like inside the park, bunt home runs. It's just, it's amazing and it's entertaining. But it is like a legitimately high stakes tournament because it's like the biggest thing of that scale. So I don't know. I just watched the World Juniors here in Edmonton this week. Great gold medal game, by the way, for anybody who saw it. But I do love just like amateur sports and Little League World Series. I mean, if you're a baseball fan, I think it's just really cool to watch these kids playing like pretty good freaking baseball, and with their cute little tiny infields, it's hilarious. So Team Canada's having a good little tournament, so I just wanted to shout them out. And
where's the Team Canada from? Do you know?
They're from Vancouver.
Okay.
So
yeah, I saw the one moment between like the kid that got hit and then he went and hugged the pitcher, and like they always
I saw that too.
There's always like cool moments.
It's cool. I mean, I watched I think it was Indiana versus Iowa yesterday in the US bracket, and it was like 5-0 for Iowa in the first inning, and then Indiana marched back and scored like 7 runs in the top of the 6th, and it's just like, again, it's really cool baseball. So that's my shout out. If you're bored
are they going
and
to
you got
sign
nothing
that
else to
kid?
do, check out Little League.
I don't know if they have the money to sign that 11-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. The forged documents.
I haven't seen Maryland on ESPN, so I haven't stopped to watch us. I haven't seen it.
All right, Jack. Jack, let's go to you first then. Where can people find more of you? What are you up to other than your You Darvish is a cheat TikToks?
That's Joel. That's not me. That's Joel.
Oh, I thought he was sending you the evidence so you could compile your case against him.
Oh, he's going to.
The people versus You Darvish.
Literally, Daily Dose of Baseball versus You Darvish. My 23,000 followers will support me now.
Versus you.
Oh, that's the title.
I like that.
Oh, that's perfect.
Amazing.
I'm crediting you with that thumbnail title. I love it. Well, if people would like to find me, my name is Jack. My account is called Daily Dose of Baseball. I make any kind of baseball related videos you can think of. If you have any suggestions, leave them in my comments. You can find me on Instagram. My links are all in my TikTok stuff. Yeah, that's where you could find me.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it. Hopefully those Baltimore Orioles start sucking because we got to play you, I think, fucking 17 more times this year. So,
I hope
Joel,
we go 17-0.
Joel, update us on your movie and your TV show.
Okay, so the TV show is it's all shot. It's 15 episodes long. Right now, it's editing, and it's every episode is like a contained season of American Idol. Okay, so where American Idol, every single episode or every single season, you get one winner. Imagine that the winner is everybody who's casted for a specific role in our show. So episode 1 is the lead being cast. Episode 2 is the husband being cast. So every single episode, you get to see this big group of actors get whittled down to the one who's chosen, and then they kind of become the American Idol of that episode. But it's all for acting. It's all for pushing a story along. You've got a show that's, if it's 44 minutes long on TV, 22 minutes of it is behind the scenes, 22 minutes of it is narrative. So it's like Law and Order, but breaking the fourth wall instead of it being about cops and then about lawyers. It's about behind the scenes. Then we see the actor, who they really, really are, and then we see the performance. Nothing in any other show that you watch do you get a baseline of who that human being is normally, and then see the performance that comes out of them. You just, you find out 6 years later that a person's British because you don't know. Right. So it's kind of that you get to see who the actor is, and then you get to see their performance. And that's kind of the idea of that show. It's all, season 1's all done. And then we've talked about a movie that I had in kind of production right now, but that's until I can talk more. But that one's baseball related. So we'll be able to dive into
And that one's close to being officially talkable.
Yeah, like paperwork is that's what's going on in emails here is paperwork being signed for it. So
very good. Well, we're excited for that one. Your TV show, you compared it to American Idol. It is not a singing competition, though, right?
No,
it is
it's
a
not. It's
horror
all acting.
Drama.
Yes. Just imagine like American Idol or Next Top Model or any one of those shows where it's a competition based to be an entertainer. Imagine one that's for acting. And instead of just naming somebody the winner, you're the best actor, we actually give them a performance to then go on and perform with. So they become they get the role, and then you get to see what that role is
immediately.
And the story they tell
cool.
in that role. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Sean, where can people find more of you? You got any dates coming up for comedy performances, festivals, albums dropping?
No.
Just being a dad and annoying your wife, eh?
No, exactly.
All right.
It's a good life.
Well, we enjoyed you. Do you have a Twitter or an Instagram people can at least follow?
No.
Okay, perfect. No. Jen, how's your toe?
Completely off the grid. I love it.
Jen, how's your toe? Your ankle?
It's feeling okay. It's all right. It's, we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping to wake up and just be able to walk and like it never happened. So.
Well, like the true Iron Man you are, your streak continued despite injuries. You played through it. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody watching, listening, everything like that, whether you're watching live Sunday night or watching the re-air Monday morning. Cheers to all of you, and go Blue Jays, go.
Or Orioles, whatever you like.
Go Orioles.
All right, you guys all suck.